I found out I wasn't the smart child in my family the day my mother accidentally sent me the wrong email. It was 2:14 a.m. I remember the time because I couldn't sleep after reading it. The subject line said, "Regarding Emma's future, urgent." Emma is my younger sister. I wasn't supposed to see that email. Growing up, there were always two versions of me, the one my family saw, and the one I quietly became. My name is Daniel, and for as long as I can remember, I was the average one. Not in a cruel way, not openly, but in that soft, constant, suffocating way families do without realizing it. Emma was the smart one. Straight A's, scholarships, teachers loved her. Relatives would lean over at family dinners and say things like, "She's going to be someone big one day." Then they'd look at me, smile politely, and change the subject. I wasn't a failure. I did fine in school. I went to college, got a stable job, paid my bills. But fine doesn't get remembered in a family that celebrates exceptional. My mom never said it directly. She didn't have to. It was in the way she introduced us to people. "This is Emma. She's top of her class. And this is Daniel. He works in marketing." You learn to shrink in those moments, to take up less space, to become easier. Emma and I weren't close, not enemies, just distant. Like two people who happened to grow up in the same house but lived completely different lives. She left for a prestigious university. I stayed local. She got internships at big companies. I worked part-time jobs to pay rent. And every time she came home, the house would feel different, louder, brighter, like everything revolved around her orbit. I stopped trying after a while. Not in life, just in the family. I showed up, smiled, listened, and left early. Years passed. Emma became exactly what everyone expected: successful, confident, impressive. And I became stable, which, in my family, was just another word for forgettable. Then came that night, 2:14 a.m., the email. At first, I thought it was sent by mistake. Wrong recipient, wrong thread, something harmless. Until I started reading. Emma is struggling more than we expected. We need to consider alternatives before things get worse. Daniel must not find out. It would break him. I stared at the screen, reading the same lines over and over, because none of it made sense. Struggling? Emma? The girl who never failed anything? I opened the attached documents. That was my second mistake. Academic warnings, performance reports, notes from advisors. Emma had been failing, not just recently, for years. She had dropped classes, repeated semesters, lost opportunities. Everything I thought I knew about her life wasn't real. My hands started shaking, because that wasn't even the worst part. There were financial documents, large transfers, tuition payments, private support programs. My parents had been quietly funding everything, fixing everything, covering everything, while telling everyone, including me, that Emma was thriving. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not yet, just confusion. Why lie? Why build this perfect image? And why hide it from me? I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called my mom. I didn't give her time to prepare. "I got your email." Silence, long enough to confirm everything. She tried to explain. Of course she did. Parents always do. "She's under a lot of pressure. We didn't want you to worry." It's complicated. But none of those answers felt real. So I asked the only question that mattered. "Why did you say it would break me?" Another silence. Then she said something I still think about to this day. "Because you've spent your whole life thinking you weren't enough. And if you found out the truth, you'd realize you were the only one who actually was." I didn't know how to respond to that, because suddenly everything made sense. The comparisons, the silence, the way they never praised me. It wasn't because I was less. It was because they needed Emma to believe she was more. Even if it meant rewriting reality. even if it meant shrinking me. I met Emma a week later, in person, for the first time in months. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, the kind that sits behind your eyes. We talked, carefully, like two strangers trying to navigate something fragile. And then she said it, without me asking. "I know you found out." Of course she did. Nothing stays hidden forever. "I'm sorry," she said, and I believed her. Not because she had to say it, but because of how small her voice sounded. For the first time in my life, Emma didn't look like the person everyone admired. She looked human. We talked for hours, about expectations, pressure, fear, about how she felt trapped in a version of herself she couldn't live up to anymore, and how every time she failed, our parents worked harder to hide it, to protect her, but also to protect the image of our family. I asked her something before we left. "Did you ever feel like they loved you more?" She looked at me, confused, almost hurt. "No," she said. "I always felt like I had to earn it." That's when it hit me. We both grew up in the same house, but we lived two completely different kinds of pressure. I was invisible. She was unbearable expectations. Different cages, same result. We're closer now. Not perfect, but real. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel like the average one. Because sometimes, the person you think you're competing with is just someone else trying not to fall apart.